Well, we got more additions this year. Yeah. Oh, all right.
Kotsay, for you personally, how is it different for you this year as opposed to last year?
Well, obviously, I've got 1 year under my belt. For experience-wise, there's still some, learning curve to this position and continue to grow. But coming here, with going through it last year, there's definitely a little bit more of a calm from utilizing the experiences we went through last year.
How much did it help just having a normal off season and being able to kind of, talk to guys as opposed to last year? I remember you kind of make contact with some people and just feel a little bit more normal in addition to already having a year under your belt.
Yeah, the off season was great. We kept in constant communication with players, which was vastly different than last year. Last year, I don't know my exact hiring date, but it was later in the process. And then with the lack of communication with players, once we got here, things did feel a little rushed, trying to build those relationships. Fortunately, this offseason I've been able to stay in contact with the guys that are returning, and then obviously building relationships with the guys that are new to our roster, new to this organization, which we still are continuing to bring guys in, and as you've seen in that locker room, there's some new faces, not only amongst the players, but as well as staff.
So there's been a few additions to the starting rotation group. Obviously, Cole is not here anymore. How do you view the make of that group coming in, and how much competition do you expect there's going to be for starting jobs?
I think this camp's going to be really competitive. Which is a good thing. Competition is a good thing. In terms of the rotation, as you talked about, Cole's gone. Paul and Cap are two guys that are returning with some experience and some history here. You got Waldachuk, you got Sears, guys that were in the rotation, Martinez, Aller, and then the new additions, obviously Fujinami, Rusinski, Moeller. So, I've named quite a few, and we're going to see how this goes through spring training. And obviously, we've got some time to evaluate and see what direction we're going to go.
Have you watched Fujinami throw?
I've not seen him live. Our pitching coach, Scott Emerson, has seen him live, and his words, I don't want to directly quote him, but it was very impressive stuff.
What's it look like for Cap and Blackman as far as opening day?
Yeah, you never want to put a timeline on guys that are coming off injury. Paul and Cap I'm sure you guys have talked to them, but they were in their bullpen progression. So we'll keep it at that right now, and hopefully their progression continues and they make strides to be able to be ready for opening day.
Looking at Fuji, you said you haven't seen him throw live yet, but what do you feel like, just based on what you've heard and what you know already, he's capable of potentially being in this rotation?
Well, let's first talk about Fuji. In terms of the person he is, and what he did for that press conference and speaking English was as impressive as anything I've seen. So you love that about the man. He wants to fit in. He's made that, known. In terms of fitting into the rotation, he's got every opportunity to fit into this rotation, and we want him in this rotation. He's got a history of having success in Japan, and I don't think he'd be here without that. The talent is there, the stuff is there. Now he's got to go compete, and it's the same game. So it'll be fun to sit back and watch him go out and compete.
Rusinski's been away from the U.S. for a while. What have you seen of him, and what are your expectations?
Yeah, it's funny. David, our GM, mentioned that Rusinski threw the first game televised on ESPN live during the lockout, or not the COVID break. Yeah, he was the starting pitcher for that Korean game that started at like 2:30 in the morning. So, and I can be honest, I didn't stay up to watch that game, but no, excited to have him. Everything we've heard, he's a competitor. At a point in his career where he transitioned to go to Korea, go overseas, and make some money, which, hey, you can't blame someone for that opportunity. He pitched well over there. The numbers kind of represent that. So I don't think he's an overpowering type pitcher. I think he's a guy that can command the baseball, utilize the off-speed pitches. So, again, another fun addition to the staff, and we'll get to watch him and watch how he goes about his business and performs.
Some of those guys seem to have renewed success when they come back. Merrill Kelly is an example. There have been others. What do you think is behind that? Or do you know?
Well, one, if they've had success over there, obviously it's built confidence, and we all know confidence is key to success here. And they maybe pick up a different pitch, which a lot of times guys go overseas, Japan, Korea, they figure out a split and how to throw that pitch and how to utilize it to their success. So.
Mark, you seem excited about this team. If so, why?
Oh, well, you got to be excited about the talent that's in that room. The transition that we've made, the turnover in roster. We continue to add talent here. If you look at history of the A's, the A's, if you go back to Zito, Mulder, Hudson, those guys were talented, and they came to the big leagues, and they ended up having impact, success pretty quickly. That's the goal, is to accelerate, this success of these young, talented players at the major league level, and it's going to be fun and exciting to watch.
God, is there something to be said? This might be more of for the first time in a while, a normal start to the year, normal spring training on time, not the crunching of last year. It's certainly what everybody went through the previous 2 years.
Yeah, let's not jinx it, Vince. No one expected that in 2020, and the event happened, right? So, we're keeping our fingers crossed. We've been able to function normally throughout the off season. We've been able to have, organizational meetings, Zoom meetings with staff. And today being the first day, we're excited about getting out here and getting on the field and just, it's baseball. So, hopefully all goes well these next 35 plus days, and we get to open up opening day on time and as normal.
How's your bullpen stacked up a little bit? Have you, obviously it's too early to identify roles, but
yeah, no roles, to identify. In terms of the bullpen, the guys that are returning from that bullpen that had some success last year as rookies, really. You look at Domingo Acevedo, what he accomplished last year, 70 appearances, the year he had, the roles he fulfilled up and down from the 6th inning to the 9th inning. You got Danny Jimenez, who closed games and did it pretty successfully until he was injured. Zach Jackson, Sammy Mole. So a lot of the guys that were in the pen last year are returning and will have this opportunity to just continue their success in the big leagues and hopefully mature, grow. You'll see some growth, hopefully, and even more success this year. Yeah, Trevor May coming to us, off-season acquisition. He's got experience. I think he's got the most time on the roster with 8 years at the big league level. So he's going to help in that experience factor down there in the bullpen, mentoring, maturing these guys, and pitching in roles of leverage for sure.
Are all your pitchers and catchers here, or is anybody in the way?
De La Cruz, Jasil De La Cruz had an issue with passport, or visa, I should say, and it should be resolved shortly, and he'll be here.
And aside from Capillion and Blackburn, are there any health issues for guys?
Yeah, so Gira had a setback with his shoulder. He's got a mild lat strain, so he's going to be a little bit further than what was anticipated. Obviously, Dalton Jeffries, we all know, and Jorge Ruiz, who's in camp, had a has a mild strain in his back that he's being evaluated, and I'll have more information on that if you need it.
You talked last year about bringing in guys like Stu to kind of talk to the team. Is that something you're going to keep doing throughout the spring? Just bring in maybe some guys.
Yeah, Stu's here. Excited about having him. Just the presence, the knowledge that he brings. He'll address the team tomorrow, or the pitchers tomorrow morning. Share his story, his legacy. The heritage of the A's. There's nobody better than Stu to do that. And there will be other guys coming through. Mark Ellis will be back. Obviously, Scott Hatterberg's here. Yeah.
Kots, with Shea has a chance to kind of establish himself as maybe your primary catcher. With all the changes you made with pitching and with this full camp, what do you want to see from him to try to learn and not overwhelm himself, but still be in a comfortable place for you as you get ready to start the year?
Yeah, Vince, it was great to have Shea last year, especially with Murphy here and the mentorship that he went through that month and a half that he was around. Not only Murph, but the recently hired bullpen coach for the Seattle Mariners, Stephen Vogt. So, it was great. Surrounding him with those two guys really, I think, helped accelerated the growth of all aspects of that position, which we all know is very demanding. For Shea, what do I want to see from Shea? I just want to see the same Shea that we saw at the end of the year. He went through a tough stretch offensively, made some adjustments, so continued growth in that aspect. We have had a lot of change this offseason with new additions, so, we're at this opportunity now to get here, to start building relationships, so that's another aspect of that position, with these pitchers that he's going to have to learn, that we're all going to have to learn each other, and so constant communication and just, constant, and this is who Shea is. He's a professional baseball player. Like, he's the epitome of what it means to be a grinder. So,
How do you see his bat
hey,
play?
it's hitting is hard. We all know that, and we've seen that over the years. It seems to be getting harder and harder. But I thought Shea, his bat last year, the adjustments he made towards the end of the season was great progress, and I think he's going to continue to make those adjustments. And when you get to the big leagues, the hardest thing to do is to hit, and I think we've seen that in a lot of young players. We'll continue to work with him on approach and make those adjustments constantly. Good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you off the building.